Welcome back for video number 6, throwing distance. Now, again, all of these numbers are AI generated average numbers. So they're not specific to travel ball. They follow kind of the practices established by Little League. These are not numbers specific to recreational ball, so on and so forth. And at the different age levels, there isn't necessarily a general number to be shared for your very young players, whether it's be your 4-year-old T-ball player to your 7-year-olds. Again, it is all based off of how many players are on the field dimensions, so on and so forth. But as competition increases with the age levels, a minimum average number of capable distance within their throwing is figured out. So typically, competition starts in that 7 to 8-year-old range. Okay, not to say that younger individuals aren't competitive. This is where things start to get a little bit more serious. Positions are being filled by talented players. Hitting capabilities are increased. Maturity levels are starting to increase. For your 8 to 9-year-old age group, according to AI average numbers, they use 20 to 25 yards. Now, obviously, most of your baseball fields are built around a foot distance, so we can do the conversion. That equals 60 to 75 feet. Now, your typical baseball diamond in that age group has bases that are anywhere from 50 to 60 feet apart. So your base player should be able to at least transfer the ball in the air between the bases. But with field dimensions at that level to the outfield fence of being between 150 to 200 feet, your outfielders actually have to be able to throw farther than that. Because from the outfield fence to the infield is further than 75 feet. So remember that if you're starting a player in the outfield because of their capabilities and talent level, they should be able to throw the ball the farthest out of the members of the team. Because in their job requirements in the position of that field, an outfielder has to be able to throw it from the outfield to the infield. Infielders typically only have to throw it from base to base. Now, your third baseman, second baseman, shortstop, and first baseman, they have to be able to throw it across the field. So even though the bases are separated by 50 to 60 feet, add on the addition of a first baseman or a third baseman, be able to cover the entire infield. They're going to be more required to throw the same kind of distance as your outfielders. For your 10 to 12 age group, the expectation moves up to approximately 75 to 90 feet. That is also at the level that the bases start to go from that 50 feet to 60 foot. Now, everything changes once again, whether it's the baseball bat, the speed of pitches, the field dimensions all increase approximately at that 13-year-old level. At 13-year-old, AI averages, again, you'll notice a big difference from 12 to 13. 12 years old is 90 feet. When you jump to 13U, the expected average to be able to throw 200 feet. Okay, so this is where most baseball players start to realize if they're actually a good baseball player or if they haven't met the standards yet of being able to be competitive against their peers. 12 to 13-year-old, approximately the same age of graduated from grade school into middle school. Okay, massive changes right at that point. That is also the point where more of your parent volunteer baseball stops. That is where most of your daddy ball stops. When kids are starting to get into school ball, it is the paid coaches taking over responsibility for coaching your kids while they're at practice or in the games at the field. As a parent, are you on board with that same kind of fundamental understanding? There's a large leap in talent requirements from 11, 12-year-old to 13. And that large leap increases for the remainder of their young adult lives. Now, obviously, each league that you are playing in, their field dimensions may vary what they are able to play on. You can gauge your players and their capabilities based off of your region or by the average AI defined numbers. Is your player truly an outstanding player against competition in your region, or are they an outstanding player by the averages of the entire baseball industry? Okay, a lot of parents, okay, I'm included, a lot of parents will think that their player is outstanding when they're based it off the talent level of the other players on their team at the lower levels. But once you start being competitive in that 8 and 9-year-old play or above, you have to start realizing they're going to be competing against teams that are not in your region, especially with travel ball, okay, or within Little League. Once they start getting into that age group, they may be traveling not only outside of your city or county, they might be traveling outside of your state, or even in some cases, at extreme levels, they may be transferring outside of the country to play baseball. What is the expectations and the averages of the players for the entire industry? Now, is that a little bit more humbling? Does it give you something more to focus on? If your player wants to truly be a baseball player and be competitive at their age, are you being realistic with the numbers shared amongst the industry? At the 12 to 13-year-old range, once puberty starts to kick in, you have no ability to predict exactly what their can't be able to, or not going to be able to do from year to year. Okay, so I've had parents come out and say, "Oh, he's coming from a family with good genes. He's going to be a stud." You don't know that for a fact. Okay, again, going back to approximately the 8 to 12-year-old range, that's 4 years, ladies and gentlemen, parents and coaches, volunteer coaches, league coaches, as in travel ball. That's 4 years to develop a player to be competitive at the much higher demand of 13U or above play. 4 years. So when does it stop being entirely about the fun and not the competitiveness? Approximately at that 7 to 8-year-old change. And the competition only continues to go up even more, with the largest jump from 12 to 13-year-old play. Be realistic. Majority of players drop out of baseball at the 13-year-old level. Once they start seeing the competition for the players that have put in the time and effort and have the talent level to compete at 13-year-old, if they are not up to that level, that is the number one spot where players lose interest in the game because they're not competitive. If you haven't done your work from 8 to 12-year-old level of play, whether you're a coach to the players or your parents to your children, okay, realize that you might be, deferring them from ever playing the game and having fun and being competitive. Not always the case, but that is majority of the experience that I have. Video number 7, we're going to be covering safety equipment. Because once again, baseball is a ever evolving game. And safety equipment, depending on what league you're in and at what levels, it adds to the additional cost, whether to the parents, the players, or the leagues, of what kind of safety equipment they need to provide or not, or what needs to be used during the game. So in video number 7, we're going to be going over the safety equipment and practices within baseball at the different age groups, what's expected of them, what they have to have, what they need to provide, and the history of behind it, why the safety equipment is there. So with that, hopefully it helps out. We're going to try to do this in about a series of 12 videos. So video number 7 will be safety. We'll get more into the detailed things as far as equipment with baseball gloves, maintenance, catcher's gear, responsibility of each positions within the videos, and what you should be doing in the off season. Training, educating, preparing for the next season. That will catch you guys later.